Hey, what's up guys, and welcome back to my channel. This is my video in regards to the reasons why I switched from the Sony A7 III to the A7 IV. Let's get into it. Okay, so let's start things off with one of the main reasons why I switched, and it was the build quality. Okay, so originally with the grip, you can see that on my pinky, it kind of just barely makes it for when I go one-handed. It was really uncomfortable until I got this little grip for the bottom. And this was really nice. This was like almost perfect. It just kind of protrudes a little bit when it comes out, but other than that, it's really good. I just felt like it wasn't big enough for when my fingers wrapped around. So when I had it wrapped around with one hand, it kind of just like went into my fingernails right on the body. And this is great and all, but I just felt like for one-handed, the grip was kind of tiny. It was just like a little bit more would have been a nice sweet spot, right? And I think that's where the A7 IV fixed everything, right? So the A7 IV, the grip is slightly bigger, and I have a grip on it right now. But you can see that even just me holding it with one hand, it's already fixed to my fingers, and I don't have to put my pinky on the bottom row of the bottom grip, right? So that issue was fixed. As well as, it's just like the size of the original grip is just a tad bigger, and it just made it feel way more comfortable. The small grip on the A7 III was great, but it just felt like it was too tight, and it just felt too constraining on my fingers and my hand. But over time, I just kind of got used to it, right? Like, so when the A7 III came out, like, this camera was great, right? Like, everything about it was on point, like the price point, what it can do, like the megapixels and everything like that. But just like other technology over time, they just get better. And Sony really learned from this and it just applied it to the new camera lines, right? So the A7 IV, the A1, everything just beyond, kind of just fixed the issues that a lot of users had. And I think that's what the great thing about Sony. Like, Sony really listens and kind of just contributes to their collaboration for growing their business and growing the models for growing their business model to enhance their own quality of build. And I think that was one of the main parts. So the build quality was great. Again, it's just the grip and the back buttons. Like, I just felt like everything was too tight and too kind of like squished. So even the back, like the record button and all the dials, which just felt really tacky and kind of like too close to each other. And I just felt like I kept hitting things, you know, over time and whatever. But, you know, as time went by, like, this camera's great. Like, the build quality is awesome. There's not much I can complain about it. But, you know, again, when the A7 IV came out, they fixed all these issues, and it just kind of just works now. It just fits to what the needs are now. Like, it's awesome, right? And I just felt like the Sony A7 IV fixed that and added just the extra customization for each photo and video mode. And I thought that was great. And I was like, almost that was like the key winner for there, which was awesome. The screen obviously was a nice big thing, like the twisty screen. Yeah, other than that, like, everything was great. Obviously the extra stuff that didn't really bother me too much, but the swivel screen, the flip out screen was a great addition. I didn't find it too big of a deal on the Sony A7 III. It wasn't a big deal because I was just looking through the viewfinder. So it's not a big deal, but I just thought it was an extra caveat for video. So yeah, that was build quality. Let's get into the main reason why I upgraded, and that was the 10-bit color that was built into the camera. Everything was great about the Sony A7 III when it first came out, except these two major things, one of them being the 8-bit color and the HDMI port. It had the mini HDMI, and I just didn't like that across all the board for all the other cameras out there, and I wanted a standard HDMI cable input for all of them. And this one, I just felt like the Sony A7 III had the micro HDMI, and it just felt like every time it went in, it would just like, it would bend, or it wasn't strong enough because it's so tiny and thin. So when the Sony A7 IV was announced that it had the full HDMI, I was like, that's A, one of the best winners about the camera, and B, the built-in 10-bit color. So originally when I first started editing videos, I would use the Atomos Ninja, which I'm recording with right now, with the Sony A7 III, which was fine, but again, it wasn't the full spectrum of 4.2.2 10-bit, it was 8-bit. Not that I don't need the Atomos Ninja to record. It's a great addition to the workflow, but having it built into the camera just gives it a lot more variation, a lot more options to use and for filming. So that was great. Mainly, one of the other main reasons too was I just didn't want to use the Ninja sometimes when I'm on the gimbal. I just needed a screen just to monitor what I'm filming, and I just wanted to keep it as light as possible. So having the built-in 10-bit while on a gimbal is a great addition. So that was one of the main reasons why I switched. Like that's like the main caveat, like the icing on the cake, you know, chef's kiss. Alright, so the last reason why I upgraded to the Sony A7IV was the autofocus. So not that it's a deal breaker or it's like a huge difference, because most modern cameras now are just so good. You know, like the Nikon cameras, the Canon cameras, the autofocus on everything is so good that like technology has just become so quick and so accessible to everybody that maybe the normal person wouldn't even notice. But from the time I got the Sony A7IV and using the Sony A7III at the same time, I noticed a slight difference in speed and when it just like wanted to lock onto something. So recently I went on a trip to Greece and I brought these on a wedding, and I had this, I think I put this with a 24mm, and then the Sony A7IV I put an 85 on it, and I could tell like a slight difference, or if anything like a real world difference when you're doing autofocus on people. For the most part, I'm shooting people, portraits, dancers, so they're like fairly quick, but they're not like running crazy speeds, right? Except maybe dancers. Dancers may be the exception, but I'm not shooting like fast race cars, or I'm not shooting like jets or like, you know, small animals. I just found that like the difference was slight enough for me to do an upgrade. I wouldn't say it's a major reason to switch or to upgrade to the Sony A7IV. However, it is an extra thing that to consider when you're shooting, whether it's people, wildlife, animals, whatever speed, that the autofocus, you want something concrete and you know that it works. So when the Sony A7III was announced, I think this was 2019, to me this was a great leap for me, just because I was coming off a Canon 5D Mark III, and I wasn't sure if I wanted to continue, you know, growing my business with Canon, and I really wanted to switch because I wanted something more compact, because I noticed that like even if I wanted to go more, you know, deep into Canon, I still found that like I wanted something quick, I just wanted something light, and I just wanted something I knew that worked. And at the time, Canon started coming out with their mirrorless, and then Sony just had a huge lineup, and I had the opportunity to switch, and I just made the leap. Yeah, originally I was gonna get the Sony A7IV, but I just couldn't justify having two cameras, or I wasn't sure if I wanted to sell the Sony A7III yet, just because it was such a great camera, and my primary use of the camera was photography. I do use video, but I'm currently shooting with a Blackmagic Cinema Camera 4K, which I'm filming right now. So I would use that for video, but I found that on gimbals it was just so hard to rig, and I have so much accessories and everything, and I just wanted to keep it light. So using a DSLR was kind of clutch, you know? So yeah, those are my thoughts on upgrading to Sony A7IV. This is a great camera for if you're really interested in taking photos, if you're doing like weddings or something like that. This is a great main camera. If anything, could be a secondary camera if you already have maybe one that has more megapixels or something, but I would highly recommend to getting the Sony A7IV. It has 36 megapixels. The build quality is great. 10-bit color for video, you know. Yes, there is caveats of like you have to get different memory cards and quicker memory cards and all that stuff, but I think over time like those investments will kind of just be useful to you in the future. So investing into this camera is really great. I could see this camera being mostly for, you know, at least for me, it fits my needs really well, which is portraits, weddings, capturing dancers. Like that's a lot of stuff that I do, and maybe the sports photography here and there. But again, it's just what a great upgrade. So yeah, I'm really happy with this camera. I just feel like it's really good, and I'm really happy I upgraded. So thank you guys for watching this video. If you like this video, like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video, okay? Peace. So basically I just liked and I didn't And originally I was gonna get it right away, the Sony. Originally, and the the casual stuff, the little small. Was it recording? Oh my gosh! Imagine it wasn't recording. That'd be crazy. Hell yeah! Let's go.